My name's Alex Llewellyn and I'm the Head of Governance and Finance at the Chartered Institute for Archaeologists. Today I want to talk about how we can be catalysts for change and look at existing workplace cultures and pressures that can have an impact on our ethical decision making and behaviours, often inadvertently, without us being aware of it until it becomes an issue, or because it's always just been like that. Using examples and guidance, I'd like to discuss how we can start to influence and address these through the power of positive leadership. How can we empower our colleagues and peers to speak up and have the confidence to ask for advice or collectively to change behaviours? What can we start doing now to make sure we really do change things going forward? When I started thinking about putting together the abstract for this session, I found this quote: "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you could start where you are and change the ending." It wasn't clear whether or not this was actually said by C.S. Lewis, but I think it still makes a very good point. I'm going to start this session by explaining a scenario I don't think will be unfamiliar. As a newbie on the department, you're expected to make all the tea for your colleagues, to only be told that they asked for coffee, and you wash and clear up the cups each time. The skills you have from any previous roles don't mean anything. You can't drive the car or offer expert advice to anyone. Your opinion counts for nothing. You're excluded from the team WhatsApp group, and no one is going to call you by your name. This will carry on until somebody else joins, after which you'll become everyone else's equal and you'll treat the newbie in the same way. Or will you? This example is real. It's not from archaeology, but was happening in 2018. To the people on the department, it's the norm. It happened to me, so why can't it happen to them? It's just a laugh. Nothing's meant by it. We all know that. These cultures can develop in many workplaces and in many different guises, and often without us realising what's going on. In this case, do the senior managers know the scenario is happening? Has someone complained about it, but they're just thought to have been a troublemaker or making something out of nothing? It's the first I've heard of it. No one else has mentioned it. Perhaps they're not sure how to best to deal with it and hope it will just resolve itself over time. In 2019, the Chartered Institute for Professional Development, CIPD, published its Rotten Apples, Bad Barrels and Sticky Situations, Unethical Workplace Behaviour report, following research into factors that influence ethical behaviour at work. Two headlines from the report are that organisational culture and leadership can influence unethical behaviour, the bad barrels, and certain situations or aspects of jobs can impact on ethical behaviour, the sticky situations. Poor ethical cultures in workplaces can often have a detrimental consequence to the organisation, as staff leave the company, resulting in it not being able to deliver its services properly. So what steps can we take to influence and change the behaviours we witness? I'm hoping by now you've all started thinking about something you'd like to change or wish you'd been able to change. Is there a culture in your workplace? Has someone mentioned something that you've dismissed? But could there be an issue that you're unaware of? How do we make these visible? And how can we use positive leadership to influence and address unethical cultures? By leadership, I don't just mean managers, although these roles do potentially have more influence to change cultures as well as form them. Everyone has the potential to influence change through leadership. Social norms and peer pressure can be powerful influences on the way we behave, and these can be used in a positive context as well as more negative associations with peer pressure. Also in 2019, CIfA, Prospect and FAME, the three bodies representing archaeology's professional organisation, trade union and trade association, signed a pan-sectoral agreement to tackle bullying, harassment and discrimination in our profession, and a key part of addressing these is about changing the cultures that lead to them. Some nuts are easier to crack than others. Going back to the scenario at the beginning, could an easy positive change be for someone in the team to help wash the cups up too? How might that have an impact on what people are experiencing? A possible first step in positive leadership is taking the time to self-assess. To consider what things I'm doing which might impact on others is important, as is reviewing a situation and considering where things may not have gone so well and what can be done to improve it. The environments we create and the attitudes we have can have a detrimental impact on staff well-being and productivity if they are not positive. the bad barrels in the CIPD guidance. I found this quote on LinkedIn the other day from Tobias Sturluson, and thought it was relevant to share as part of this talk. Here, Tobias is suggesting that all organisations should accept that not everything we do is perfect, and to listen and learn about where we can continue to improve. It's also important to think about how we might appear to others. We might believe that we are friendly and approachable, but others might not see us in that way. Do you have an open door policy but no one ever comes in? After all, Rag and Bone Man tells us he's only human, but I'm not sure he'd be my first port of call. Or how about sticking your head round Lord Alan Sugar's door? We shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but that's easier said than done, and perhaps reflecting on how we are perceived will be beneficial. What can we do to address this? How can we give other people the confidence to speak up to us, to ask questions, and maybe challenge the social norms? An example I want to use here is the All Blacks rugby team. In the early 2000s, the team experienced poor World Cup performances and behaviours by players. To address this, the coaches started working towards a new sweep the sheds culture based on individual character and personal leadership, with the philosophy that better people make better All Blacks. No person is bigger than the team, and everyone is responsible for the smallest detail, including cleaning out the changing room at the end of the match. This created a coherent, positive team environment and behaviour, taking them back to their winning ways. It's also worth considering the simple betterest box cycle, which shows how our attitude and behaviours can affect and influence the attitude and behaviours of those around us. Going back to the scenario at the beginning, what if the person who helped with the washing up was sometimes the team leader? Being in an equal environment can help to break down the barriers to conversation and allow people to chat things over. So how has our scenario changed? Perhaps the newbie now feels more able to express their feelings to the team leader, and by listening, maybe the team leader starts to reflect on organisational cultures and how these may need to change in future. Another area that can have an impact on decision making and ethics are pressures at work, as can lack of morale and feeling undervalued. Work pressures can sometimes be external and less easy to influence, but by having a working environment that encourages people to share their anxieties is beneficial and can help teams to share problem solving. Creating opportunities for discussing issues and ethical grey areas is a great way to raise awareness and to influence change. The article in The Archaeologist 106 from Joe Abrams tells us about the benefits of having a regular team meeting and keeping a section on the agenda for staff to share the ethical dilemmas they faced at work. Using the CIfA professional practice paper and referring to the Code of Conduct and Standards and Guidance to help inform what decisions should or shouldn't be made. Sometimes answers that seem obvious to us as individuals may not be obvious to others, and being able to ask for advice, input and feedback can allow for positive change, in turn allowing other people to learn and grow in confidence. Involving others in discussions about decision making can also help them to acknowledge the complexities of work life and to build trust, and sometimes open discussion can lead to change. Professional ethics isn't just about following rules and laws, but reaching beyond these. Perhaps there are situations where we should be more confident in standing by our professional obligations and to push back or say no to a deadline being forced on us which could have a detrimental impact on what we can deliver, or to query why someone has taken the decision they have. More recently, CIfA has developed an e-learning module with a range of everyday ethical scenarios archaeologists may face, and although these can be thought through individually, we're keen to encourage members to discuss them with other colleagues and to consider the range of judgments that could be made. However, other work pressures can be of our own making and can impact others. For example, by continually reinforcing the need to book cheaper travel expenses back in the day, are we unconsciously influencing people to take later trains and putting themselves or their staff into a situation where they are unsafe? Is our micromanagement of someone else's workload putting extra pressure on them and forcing them to make unethical decisions? Giving staff the autonomy to control areas of their work can build their confidence and help them to learn. Give them an overall travel budget and the responsibility to spend it. Step back a bit from the everyday management to let people find their own way, but keep in regular review meetings to make sure things are on track. Natalie Alembo joined CIfA for a summer placement, and in her write-up of her experience, she highlighted how she appreciated the autonomy she was given. While I knew that the help was there if I needed it, the fact that I had full autonomy over the content of the projects and how I completed them meant that I was able to understand what CIfA does for myself. There is an importance in forming your own understandings of things, as it allows you to grasp concepts that were foreign to you. This is a balancing act though, as we want to avoid unconsciously passing on work to someone who might not be fully confident or competent in what they're doing, another area of the code of conduct, and creating a different pressure. Returning to the scenario, now we've introduced opportunities for autonomy and allowing open discussion. As the newbie on the department, you're encouraged to help the team leader to make tea. It gives you the opportunity to get to know them and introduces you to the rest of the team. Everyone helps with the washing up, and it's a great chance to have informal chats about things. You're added to the team WhatsApp group and encouraged to share your ideas and experiences from your other roles as part of the regular meetings. You feel like you're already part of the team and keen to learn more. The examples above look at ways in which we as individuals can change the way we behave, but it's important that this is done collectively and not just by some. It must not be a one-way street, and as well as reflecting on how we behave and how we make ourselves more approachable, we must be confident to speak up and speak to people. How many times have you said or heard, "Well, I've told them about it, but no one's done anything"? How clearly did we express our views, or were we speaking to the right people? We also need to make sure that those who do speak up are respected and heard, not dismissed at rocking the boat or sidelined as troublemakers. Along these lines, in February this year, CIfA hosted a virtual training session conducted by Protect, the whistleblowing charity, aimed at encouraging a speak-up culture in archaeological workplaces, handling concerns, and how to address grievances. The main messages from the training were about having a clear policy for staff to raise concerns, to give staff the confidence that they will be listened to, and to know they won't be victimised for speaking up. The person who told me about the scenario at the beginning did speak up, not just to the people they considered friends at work, but to people who could have more influence, and some changes have happened. It wasn't easy for them, and they may only be small steps, but they are progress, and the individual speaking up and the one listening and taking action are both leaders, acting as catalysts for change. I hope this short presentation has given you some useful guidance and information, and here are a few thoughts to go away with. Firstly, to reflect. Individually and as an organisation, what are the parallel problems in archaeology to the scenario at the beginning? Can we see them happening, and what can we do to help change them? Secondly, to provide. Provide opportunities for discussions or concerns to be raised by staff and individuals. How can we give our colleagues the confidence to speak up and be clear about the mechanisms to do so? And thirdly, to lead. Where can you influence culture change in your organisation or the environments you're in? Where could CIfA and our peers help us to do this? How can we see that we are making progress? So whether or not C.S. Lewis said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending," he definitely did say, "Isn't it funny how day by day nothing changes, but when you look back, everything is different." Thank you for listening, and I hope this has posed some useful questions and thoughts for you to take away. Although what I've spoken about doesn't relate directly to failings in how we deal with clients and stakeholders, it is integral to how well our services are delivered. It's not a topic I'm claiming to be an expert in, but it really interests me and is something we must continue to discuss through CIfA. There are also other related sessions taking place over the next few days, including the Me Too Time's Up and Archaeology in the UK tomorrow, which will be looking at how we promote a positive professional culture in order to be viewed as a viable career option for those of all genders and backgrounds. I hope you'll get a chance to attend this or listen to the recording. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Thanks.